Okay, proceed na tayo sa problem solving cost accounting cycle. So, meron tayo ditong long problem. So, ito yung first page ng long problem and ito yung second page. So, we are required to prepare the following. Number 1, journal entries, trial balance. Number 2, Number 3, statement of cost of goods sold. Number 4, income statement. Number 5, balance sheet. So, long problem siya. Meron tayong 5 requirement. Ang una natin gagawin ay journal entries ng cost accounting cycle. And sa paggawa ng journal entries, gagamitin natin itong mga journal entries na pinakita natin nung tayo ay nag-review ng merchandising at manufacturing operating cycle. So, kung natin gagawin, journal entries, gagamitin natin ito as basis or as guide sa paggawa ng journal entries. The NP company is a newly organized company that manufactures dining tables and chairs. The basic steps in the company's manufacturing process are as follows. So, number 1, ito yung mga manufacturing process ni NP Company in manufacturing dining tables and chairs. Number 1, lumber is cut to size for tabletops, legs, seats, arms, and backs. Number 2, the individual pieces of cut lumber are painted in various bright colors. Number 3, the pieces are assembled into tables and chairs. The beginning balance sheet for the company on January 1 of the current year is presented below. So, ito yung balance sheet niya. So, as you can see, walang inventory account sa kanyang asset dahil siya ay newly organized company. Start siya ng operation January 1. The company makes only one style of table and no chairs for the month of January. The following transactions are completed on January 2020. So, si NP Company ay manufacturer ng dining tables and chairs. Pero, for the month of January, ang manufacture lang ng company ay table, one style of table, and walang chairs na ginawa nung January. Okay, transaction number 1, materials, lumber, paint, screws, lubricants, and solvents are purchased on account at a cost of 100,000 pesos. So, bumili ng materyales yung company. So, mapansin nyo, yung binili niyang materials is may lumber, may paint, may screws, lubricants, and solvents. So, merong direct materials, which is yung lumber, and meron ding indirect materials, which is yung paint, screws, lubricants, and solvents. So, maaalala nyo, ang indirect materials ay example ng factory overhead. Binili siya at a cost of 100,000. So, to record yung number 1, so balikan natin yung ating guide. So, bumili ng material. So, ang entry natin kanina, debit raw materials inventory, credit cash. But sa case na to kasi, siya ay binili on account, meaning liability ang ating credit. So, to record yung transaction number 1, materials purchased at a cost of 100,000. So, gagamitin natin to as guide. Ngayon, instead na raw materials ang gagamitin nating account, ang gagamitin nating account ay debit materials. Credit accounts payable 100,000. Pag sinabi kasing raw materials inventory, meaning ang mga nakapaloob na items dyan is yung mga direct materials. Pero pag ginamit natin yung term na materials, ibig sabihin, whether direct material or indirect material is nakapaloob sa account na yan. Material. So, gagamitin natin for na account kapag may mga purchases ng materials ay materials account. Number 1. Debit materials, credit accounts payable 100,000. Number 2, during the month, direct materials, lumber and paint, costing 80,000, and indirect materials, screws, lubricants for machine, and solvents for cleaning, costing 3,800 are issued to the factory. So, naka-mention na yung direct materials, which is lumber and paint, yung direct materials ng company, and yung indirect materials ng company, which is yung screws, lubricants, and solvents, costing 3,800 are issued to the factory. So, balikan natin yung ginawa nating guide. So, dito sa transaction number 2, nagsimula ng mag-manufacture ng product si company. Bubuo na siya ng tables. So, gumamit siya ng direct materials and indirect materials. So, ito yon, to record yung materials na gagamitin para makapag-manufacture ng product, debit work in process, credit raw materials inventory. So, to record yung number 2, naka-mention yung direct materials. So, kapag direct materials yung in-issue para mag-manufacture ng product, ang gagamitin natin ay ito. Kasi direct materials. So, sa number 2, to record yung issuance ng direct materials, ang entry natin would be debit, work in process, credit, materials. At what amount? Ang amount ay 80,000 pesos. So, 80,000 pesos yung i-record natin. And i-record din natin yung issuance ng indirect materials. And remember, ang indirect materials ay under ng factory overhead. And balikan natin yung guide. So, para i-record yung issuance ng indirect materials, ang gagamitin natin is itong entry for factory overhead. Kasi nga, itong indirect materials ay under ng factory overhead. So, to record yung issuance ng indirect materials, instead na work in process, ang gagamitin nating debit ay factory overhead control. Factory overhead control, debit, credit, materials na 3,800. Kapag direct materials, sa work in process. Kapag indirect materials, which is factory overhead, sa factory overhead control ang debit. Number 3. Total payroll for the month amounted to 72,000 pesos, consisting of 40,000 earned by laborers working on product, 14,000 for factory supervision, 18,000 for sales and administrative employees. So, nagkaroon na ng pasweldo yung company sa kanyang mga empleyado. Ang total payroll is 72,000 pesos. So, to record yung sweldo ng mga employee ng company, to record Number 3, gagamit muna tayo ng temporary account, which is yung payroll account na 72,000 pesos. Which is yung total expense or yung total salaries ng mga employee. Credit, accrued payroll or accrued salaries, 72,000 pesos. Then, i-record din natin yung payment ng payroll. Kasi ito, set up lang to ng liability para sa sweldo ng mga empleyado. Ngayon, i-record natin yung actual payment. Debit, accrued payroll, credit cash, 72,000 pesos. Okay. Close na ang accrued payroll account. And kagaya nga ng sinabi kanina, gumamit tayo ng temporary account na payroll, which is, i-close din natin yan. I-close natin to dahil kailangan nating i-classify yung expense. Kailangan nating i-classify yung salaries expense kung ito ba ay administrative or selling or factory overhead or dapat direct sa work in process. Kaya i-close din natin yung temporary account na payroll. So dito naka-breakdown na yung composition ng 72,000. So ibig sabihin, sa 72,000, 40,000 daw dyan is para sa mga laborers na working on the product. Meaning, yung 40,000 is direct labor. So, kung yan ay direct labor, to record direct labor, credit, debit work in process, credit cash. Okay. Ibig sabihin, i-debit natin yung account na work in process na 40,000 pesos. Dahil yan ay direct labor. 14,000 for factory supervision. So, yung factory supervision ay hindi yan direct labor. Yan ay factory overhead control. So, pag factory overhead, ang debit natin palagi ay factory overhead control. So, debit ulit factory overhead control na 14,000 pesos. And yung 18,000 daw for sales and administrative employees. So, to record yung natira na 18, i-debit natin yung sales and administrative expense na 18,000. Ang credit ay yung temporary account na payroll, 72,000 pesos. Dahil kailangan nga natin itong i-classify kung ito ba ay direct labor, factory overhead, or selling and administrative expenses. Kaya dapat lagi nating i-close itong payroll account na ito. Okay, number 4, depreciation expense of the building is 6% per year. The office occupies 1/10 of the total building and the factory operation is in the other 9/10. 9/10. So, ibig sabihin, yung building ng company is, yung 1/10 doon ay para sa office. And yung 9/10 ng building is para sa factory operation. So, ibig sabihin lang nun, kailangan din natin i-allocate yung depreciation expense kung ito ba ay sa office or sa factory operation. Okay, depreciation expense. To record yung transaction number 4, uunahin natin yung 1/10. Sa 1/10, ang i-debit natin na account is yung sales and administrative expense control. So, dapat ito may control din yung ating ginawang number 5. Sales and administrative expense control. Sales and administrative expense control, i-debit natin yung amount ng depreciation na para sa office. Kasi pinagsama niya dun sa account na to yung admin expense which is pertaining sa office and yung selling expense which is for sales operations. Sales and administrative expense control. I-debit natin yung depreciation na 1/10. So, paano kaya yon? Ang cost ng building, balikan natin yung page 1. Ang cost ng building is 1.5 million pesos. 1.5 million times ang depreciation rate ay 6% per year times 1.5 million times 6% times 1/12. Bakit may 1/12? Kasi ito ay per year. Ang ginagawa pa lang natin ay transaction ng January. So, monthly depreciation yung i-reflect natin. Times yung 1/10 portion ng depreciation. Ulit, ito yung cost ng building, 1.5 million times depreciation rate per year which is 6%. Ngayon, minultiply natin siya sa 1/12 kasi ang depreciation rate ay per year. Ang ginagawa natin ay depreciation per month times 1/10 which is yung portion ng office na 1/10. 750 pesos. 750 pesos. Kung yung 1/10 ay sa sales and admin expense, yung 9/10 daw ay factory operation. Therefore, yung 9/10 na portion is para naman dun sa factory overhead control account. To compute, ganun din, 1.5 million times 6% times 1/12 times yung portion ng factory, 9/10. That is 6,750. Ang credit natin ay accumulated depreciation building na 1.5 million cost times depreciation per year 6% times 1/12. 7,500. Okay, to record yung depreciation ng building, debit sales and administrative expense, debit factory overhead control, Credit accumulated depreciation, building 7,500 pesos. Number 5, depreciation expense of the machinery and equipment is 20% per year. All machinery and equipment is used in the factory for production purposes. So sa number 5, hindi na tayo mag-a-allocate to administrative and factory overhead. Kasi yung machinery and equipment down is 100% for factory purposes, for production purposes. So to record yung number 5, so siya ay related sa production purposes. So ang entry natin ay debit factory overhead control, credit accumulated depreciation, machinery and equipment. At what amount? Ang cost ng machinery and equipment ay 300,000. 300,000 times 20% depreciation per year times 1/12. Ang amount ay 5,000 pesos. Number 6, the cost of heat, light, and power for the month was 6,000 pesos. So, i-allocate din natin yung light, heat, and power ng company. Kasi nga, may portion dyan pang production, may portion dyan pang office. Ngayon, ano yung magiging basis natin? Ang gagawin nating basis dito is yung proportion ng occupancy ng office to factory operation. So, to record yung light, heat, and power, debit, sales, and administrative expense, at what amount? That is 6,000 times, for the office, 1/10. That is 600 pesos. Debit, factory overhead, control. 6,000 times 9/10. That is 5,400. Credit accounts payable na 6,000 pesos. Number 7, miscellaneous expense for telephone, office supplies, travel, and rental of office furniture and equipment, total 3,000 pesos. So, to record yung number 7, so lahat yan ay para sa administrative purposes. So, ang entry natin would be debit, sales, and administrative expense control, credit, accounts payable na 3,000 pesos.